Welcome to the Recruiter Startup Podcast. I'm joined here today by Simon Childs from RGF and Derek Kenny from Cornerstone. How are you today, gentlemen?
Doing well, thank you, dualta. I'm in Tokyo. It's blistering hot day here. We've just finished the Obon summer holidays here, so we've been getting up into the late 30s, 30, 38, 39, 40 degrees. But fortunately, I'm working from home in a nice air-conditioned home office, so no complaints my end.
And yourself, Derek, how are you?
Good. It's a Typhoon 8 here last night, so I thought the glass was going to blow in on top of me. Have you ever been in a typhoon before?
I feel like I'm in one at the moment here in the UK. Congratulations. You recently became a dad?
Yeah, dad now, 19-month-old kid, so he wakes me up every morning at 4:15 on the dot. Daddy. So, yeah, my wife says, I'm not getting up, you get up. And then that's it, the day starts. Yeah. So, yeah. So thank you.
So it's going to be an interesting chat today, gentlemen. I think between both of you have a real grip on the Asian marketplace. And Derek, we've had you on before, and you're part of a major scale up at the moment. And Simon has been and done and ran that race, and now an advisor in the world. So suppose we just start by where did you guys first come across each other?
Do you want me to go first, Derek?
I'll let you.
Yeah, my best mate in Hong Kong happened to be working in the same service office building as Derek. And I think Derek at that point was working with another business before Cornerstone, and he was looking to maybe do something different with his life, take things in a different direction, start his own business. And anyway, this guy's named Steve. He connected Derek and I. Derek and I came over to an office that I was sitting in, one of the businesses that Recruit had acquired in the region in Hong Kong. And we had a good chat. I think we hit it off. We talked about specialization and other things that maybe, hopefully Derek remembers more than me, but no, we just kept in contact ever since then, and that's it.
Is the world of expat recruitment in Asia and the upper echelon, is that quite small? Like, is there only so many of you?
There's a lot. You know, it's when I first started in Japan, there was which is, I'm going back 20 years now. It's a small number working in Tokyo, but a lot of them were actually involved in running the boutique businesses there. I mean, for Japanese people, they weren't really at that point seeing recruitment as a career option. You know, just in terms of why would Japanese people at mid and senior level change careers? Like, they didn't do that 20 years ago. But since then, it's when I go out on the streets of Tokyo and I connect, there's hundreds of expats, not just from the West, but from other parts of Asia, from Australia, New Zealand, in Hong Kong, in Tokyo. Hong Kong is as Derek will testify, and Singapore too is quite heavily populated with expats, particularly at the senior levels. But we're seeing more and more locals come through at leadership positions, which is great to see.
Derek, where's the major focus for your business at the moment? Across which market and which country?
So in Hong Kong, it's we have a technology consulting business, which is growing a lot actually. So called Enterprise Solutions. Then we have Lake Street Search. So Lake Street Search is a high-end business focused on placing like CEOs, C-level executives, and chairmen into mainland Chinese financial services businesses. That's still going very well. And then we have a corporate banking and insurance and supply chain business. So some of the businesses obviously got hurt with the virus and so on, but the Chinese focused businesses have done pretty well, and also the contracting / consulting tech business is doing very well.
What's the general mood amongst expats in Hong Kong at the moment? It's hard to know with the media.
So let me give you a little bit of background, right? Most expats in Hong Kong are moaning about, China's coming in, they're going to take over the place. I've been to Shanghai, I've lived in Shenzhen. They're nice places. It's like, I don't know what they're moaning about. Do you know what? My life hasn't changed here one bit. Most people's lives haven't changed. So if you ask me, Hong Kong is still an amazing place. And there's no difference to me in my daily life. Like, zero difference.
Yeah.
So you hear a lot of expats moaning now. as if China is the big enemy. But they've never been to China, you know. They live in Hong Kong and they've never been to China. It's crazy. Well, look, I think
Derek has one thing in his favor with being married to someone from mainland China and understanding business practices in China, being part of an organization which has offices all over China. But I think, for a lot of expat recruiters who don't have that link with mainland China, they're just running their own boutiques in Hong Kong. I mean, they're just seeing this triple whammy. They're seeing the trade war with America. It's kind of Trump's play around the presidential elections. They're seeing, the impacts of protests, which started to stop a lot of tourists coming in and shut down, a lot of the infrastructure in Hong Kong, and the introduction of the national security law. And then they're seeing the impacts of COVID. And Hong Kong is quite restrictive. I mean, compared to the UK, for example, or Ireland, just in terms of, quickly shutting down borders and sort of making sure quarantines happen, and only 2 people at a time in Hong Kong can go out, for example, right now, and they need to be masked. So it's a fairly, I think Derek is, I talk to a lot of recruiters, not just in businesses I manage, but just generally in Hong Kong. Derek is on the upper end of the scale in terms of, optimism and doing all right and seeing sort of, a bit of blue ocean or blue sky. But I think there's a lot of them who are really just wondering, how I'm going to get through this, and can I pay my staff, and who's going to go next, because the number of hires have dramatically shrunk, and people can't get out, everyone's working from home. So I think there's kind of 2 sets, if you like, amongst the expat community there.
And let's jump in, Simon. What's your current role? You're a man who has lots of different things going on.
Like yourself, Doctor, I wear a few hats. My day job is working as a external advisor to the international recruitment business of Recruit Holdings. So Recruit Holdings is publicly listed. It's a huge global business that owns Indeed.com. It owns Glassdoor. It owns a lot of staffing businesses around the world. It owns a lot of media businesses. It owns a lot of job boards in Japan, in China, and so forth. And the international recruiting business is a relatively small part of that big, tens of billions of dollar business. But I work with the board, a Japanese board, having sold my business to them back in the tail end of 2007, just before the GFC, which is a story in itself. So I've been working with them ever since as first of all, as a shareholder in my own business, exiting my shares, into a management employee. I went to Hong Kong and India with these guys to look at acquisitions and develop organic businesses with them, to now being an advisor on the outside. And on top of that, on the side, I've invested in a number of things. So I have an RPO business out of Manila, which is called Talent Spark, which does a lot of work with US firms to help them with client lead generation and candidate sourcing and competitor mapping and so forth. Some work in Asia as well. I've invested in a quite successful rec-to-rec business that does a lot of work, not just with the Recruit Group, but elsewhere. And the other thing I've been involved with quite recently is HR tech, just particularly things that I understand that would move the recruiting world, if you like. So I've invested and advised to 4 or 5 different businesses in sort of background checking and candidate sentiment analysis, and these types of things are what I'm involved with, and that's, I'm kind of like a little bit all over the place, but happily busy. Yeah.
Derek, which part of what Simon does interests you most to talk about?
Well, I think, first of all, Simon is a bit of a legend in around the recruitment circles here and in Hong Kong and Asia, because Simon was a police officer first, right, in Hong Kong, in Asia. That'd be so interesting. And then moved into the headhunting business, built his own headhunting business, sold it for millions of US dollars, then goes in to do the M&A field. So the reason Simon is so interesting is because he didn't just go into M&A. He actually built a successful recruitment company, sold it for millions of dollars, and then went into the M&A. So I think I love the M&A stuff, because we've been doing M&A stuff as well. And I think that must be very interesting. And Simon's obviously very good at it, doing the M&A for one of the biggest recruitment firms in the world. Like, they're more than recruitment, right? What were they at, $8 billion USD revenue at one stage, Simon?
Oh, and it's way north of that now through the acquisitions. So it's 20 something plus now. It's big.
Wow.
It's because they've got the Indeed business, they've got Glassdoor, they've acquired all these staffing companies and pulled it together. So yeah, it's around that kind of number. It's big.
What's your role within the M&A piece in that business?
No more, in the sense that we are currently we're not active in the M&A field right now, at least in the international recruiting business. I think Recruit, as Derek knows well, is a big organization. It sort of operates in silos to a certain extent. Indeed is a business on its own. Staffing is a large vertical on its own. And, we belong in the media solutions business. So maybe somewhat awkwardly within that space. So all of those different silos have their own strategies around M&A. I advise or have advised the permanent recruiting side of Recruit Holdings, and that has taken me to into China, into Southeast Asia, into India, some exploratory trips into Europe, North America, South America, just to have a look and try and understand what other people are doing. But I think in this market, it's more for us at least, and I can't really go into too much detail. It's more, just about preserving what we have, and it's tough across Asia. Some of the markets we're in India and Southeast Asia, and less so Japan, but they're under the cosh for everybody these days. So. M&A is not super active at this point.
I had Rod Hoare on yesterday, who's a broker in Australia, and
know him well.
Right, I'm sure. And so I've had a few people on, and look, it's a holding pattern. But what interests me about yourself is, like, walk me into what it was like before COVID. So the board say, we're thinking of making an acquisition. Maybe it's search, or maybe it's life sciences. Simon, what do we do next? Like, at which point do you come in, and what does that look like?
So I think for our business, we were, if you like, the proverbial 800-pound gorilla in Japan, like, number one in staffing, number one in permanent recruiting, number one as a job board, but nothing, at least when I was involved in the early stage of selling my business to Recruit and working for the region, nothing outside, not like zero sort of footprint, Then if you like, the job board piece, if you like, they made an acquisition or an investment in 51job.com. On the permanent recruiting side, it was really more around geographical expansion. So we were considering organic growth versus, acquisition and growth. And I think in those days, and I'm going back to the early 2010s, there was definitely a feeling that Recruit were going to go public at some point. And I felt very strongly that having a strong Asian footprint where we had offices in just about every location in Asia would certainly help the IPO. And it was important for us to be serving initially Japanese clients and some MNCs in the region. So I went to Hong Kong. My business partner went to Singapore. His name's Jason. What he did is he just built a very successful business in Singapore. There's no acquisition as such, just grew it to over 100 people there, both perm and some contract business, hired some great people, built strong specialization, really established it as a regional hub. When we looked at the China markets and when we looked at the India markets, we sort of figured it would be very hard for us to do it ourselves without some form of acquisition or partnership, if you like. We did, and we have a brand within Recruit called HRA, which really is an organic brand that serves Japanese clients in the region. That's pretty much everywhere in Asia. It's run by Japanese. It works only for Japanese clients, and it employs often Japanese or bilingual locals to work for those Japanese clients. It's a dominant force in Asia. But outside that, we were looking at partnerships, and we developed a couple of partnerships in Greater China and in India, and established our own businesses alongside those as well, where we felt there were areas that they perhaps weren't developing or weren't so specialized in. So that's kind of where we are today. And when I came back from a year in India in 2013, having hired and started my own business, and then we acquired a business there as well. I then took on another role, which is more kind of like, if you like, board advisory, setting up the L&D businesses across the region. Because of these businesses we were buying, acquiring, we're saying, so, what value are you going to bring us, right? The owners did well, they made some money out of it, but what about us? Where are you going to add value? And so we've been looking at client referrals and learning and development, training and leadership opportunities for the guys ever since. And I was part of the core team that set that up. Yeah.
And Derek, when you look at the journey that Simon's being on, does it strike a chord of where you're at now? From you're in this high growth mode, you're looking like what's next?
Well, last year we were thinking we're going to file for an IPO this year. And you never know, we might still file at the end of the year, who knows? But then the whole world just imploded, kind of, So I think this year we were on the way up, and now we've kind of taken a little bit of a lull. So I hope we can build this company for the IPO, like we said we would do, or maybe some kind of major sale at some stage. But I don't think I'm anywhere near Simon's level right now. He's done it. He's been there, done it. He's done lots of M&A. So I'm only starting out compared to him.
Sure, absolutely. But when you both look at the international market outside of Asia, like in the UK, there's a lot of focus on expansion within the USA and all the scalable firms, many of which are in our leadership network that you're a part of, Derek. It seems like a natural one, but yet I hear a lot from the Australian market that Japanese companies just love acquiring Australian-based businesses. Is the focus a regional play for you, or is it a global play?
You talking to me, or?
Yeah, why don't we start with you, Derek, because you're in the thick of it.
Recently, I'll just go through what we've been doing recently, right? So Chris Watkins is the big dog, by the way, and he's over in the US, and he, I believe we're just about to close an acquisition on a company in the US. We did have an acquisition pretty much done in Singapore last week, and then the guy's company who we were buying, he's actually a friend of mine, kind of, the whole thing just unraveled at the last minute due to, I think it just wasn't the right fit for us. So we're expanding at the moment globally because we have to do acquisitions for our IPO, and obviously Morgan Stanley being behind us with Media Capital. So we have a very strong balance sheet, put it that way, we're quite fortunate in that sense. But we've been looking at acquisitions in Europe, America, and Southeast Asia, generally outside of China, because in China we're very, very strong. We're very strong. We've won every award you can imagine in China, and we're all over the country. Outside of China, we're trying to strengthen our presence now in Southeast Asia, Europe, America. So hopefully we can get the acquisition done in the US pretty soon. I know Chris is working hard on it, so he's the man we roll out to do all the deals. He's the big boss,
So what does he work with, like a team of brokers and goes out and gets introductions and starts putting people through DD and stuff? Is that how that works? Or?
Chris is one of these guys. We have a big CFO, right? We hired Randstad CFO to come into our business, obviously getting us ready for the IPO. Chris is one of these guys. He can probably do it all on his own. He knows the numbers better than a CFO does.
Yeah.
I think he does work with brokers, but generally I think he sources the deals himself, or we source it through our own network. I know he does work with brokers, but I think the stuff that's in our pipeline right now is either being through me, Chris, or Sean in Singapore or the US.
Yeah. What market in the US is attractive right now?
I think he's looking at life sciences and tech. I know we were looking at a firm in San Francisco and another one in Boston. I think the Boston one was life sciences, because we have a very strong life sciences business in China, and they did have a lot of back and forth, but with the Donald Trump trade war and everything else going on, they're trying to stop the transfer of talent, I think, so that maybe might get in the way.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. And Simon, what are you seeing in the HR tech world right now? You mentioned that you're part of that. What do you think is coming next that's going to be transformative for the recruitment industry?
Look, that's a great question. I think there's a number of things right now which is just absolutely transforming what we're doing. So because we're all working from home, or largely working from home, and a lot of our clients and candidates are as well. So I've just been amazed at how quickly some firms are managing to adapt to work from home. So they're using really powerful video interviewing tools, so whether that's companies like Kaizen Recruit or Odro or Interview or HireVue, whatever, to get through the process of hiring for themselves, hiring for the clients. That's obviously is kind of a game changer. I think the other thing that's really, really changing is because we are working at home, there's a lot of apps out there right now which are being used to kind of measure, if you like, the emotional health, mental health of recruiters in the field who are working from home under quite stressed conditions, and maybe with nervous parents or whatever it is around COVID-19 and so forth. So there's a lot of really cool apps that are out there to sort of manage that. I've seen companies like Meet and Engage, 360 HPI, and so forth. They're good tools worth experimenting with. And I think the other is just the explosion in online learning and development and investing in because we're not getting face-to-face stuff. So I'm seeing so many podcasts from recruiting trainers trying to get the message out there. I'm seeing some really cool software out there, apps out there to help onboard and help train and help upskill recruiters. So I think those are the kind of the areas that I'm seeing that are real, if you like, game changers for our business, as well as because we're not meeting candidates face to face, and we're seeing an explosion of candidates looking for jobs because of unemployment and so forth. Just some really intelligent sifting tools, AI tools out there, and online gaming tools and so forth that help recruiters cut through vast swaths of potential candidates and bring it down to a kind of a sizable talent pool, if you like, that they can filter, interview, and get out to clients. So those are the things. Background vetting would be another one. Online background vetting, putting stuff on the blockchain. Just everything that can be done to speed up the life of a recruiter, so he can focus more on thought leadership and client development and really getting to know his candidates. Just anything that can speed that. And we're seeing just so much of that in Asia right now. Yeah.
I think we can all agree that COVID has fast forwarded everything exponentially. And one of the things that you just touched upon there is the work from home element. Look, it's no secret, it's tough to get the best out of people. Work from home, if you look at the stats, I know there's a lot of, we're doing great out there, but it is a challenge, and it's not for everyone. When you're in the future, when the world recovers and you look at acquisitions, are you going to be looking at people who are actually built better for working from home as well as the office? What do you think will that look like? Because I'm seeing two different things in the marketplace. I'm seeing in the UK, I'm getting clients are like, we're back in, it's the office, it's what it is. In the US, in New York, I'm seeing the same companies saying, no, we're not too keen on the real estate anymore. We might keep the cost down, which is interesting that there's parallel things happening in the one company.
Yeah.
I feel like what I'm getting at is, it seems like we're very disjointed in our strategy of what the new company looks like.
I'm inclined to think it's more the second case, the US scenario. Like there's a lot of gung ho, we're all going to get back in the office and everything, but the reality is some of the biggest tech companies in the world, including Indeed.com, including Google and Amazon or whatever, they're telling the staff to come back in July next year, and who knows where we'll be in July next year, right? So I think in a way we'll naturally start mimicking our clients, and I think a lot of recruiters, when we get through this, will have adapted to working from home, and recruiters will be able to attract talent by saying, we're going to give you that option. It might not be 5 days a week, but it might be 2 days, it might be 3 days. And further to your question around, acquisition, yes, if we were looking, if I could go back in time, back to 2011, 12, 13, and it was present day, and we did have the wherewithal and the budget and the strategy to go and acquire companies, I'd absolutely be looking at how they are managing their people. And because we can't see them or feel them in the office, when you do M&A and you walk into an office, of course the staff don't know you're there. because of that, unless it's a very small company and the owner's talking. When you walk around the pit or the sales floor, you get a feel for the buzz, the excitement. You see how people are, how they look, how they, how sharp they are, how emotionally engaged they are. When you're going to do M&A in the future, now or in the future, you don't have that, right? So if I was doing it right now, I would be looking to companies that are using emotional intelligence measurement tools to really engage with the workforce. I'm not talking about SurveyMonkey or a pulse thing that goes out and asks, how are you feeling right now? But something that really looks at their health, looks at how they, how resilient they are, how emotionally well they're feeling, how engaged they're feeling about the workplace. I think these things are very important. And if you went into two companies and one had all that and had all the stats and was showing, that they've noticed certain trends and they're improving, and they've managed to like nip things in the bud and make pivot and introduce lifestyle changes which has raised their scores, and you go into another company which is just saying, oh yeah, all our people are doing fine, I know which I would be talking to more seriously about if all things were even, right? Because the company that's made that investment, they're more likely to get out the other end of this, and the next normal might be normal for a very long time. So yeah.
Right. Well, gentlemen, that's us for today. Thank you so much for coming on. Always a pleasure, Derek and Simon. Really great to meet you. I welcome you into the WhatsApp group. Great to get somebody like you in there who can add so much value. And yeah, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, Dualta. Cheers, Derek. All the best.
Yeah. Take care.